Welcome to part 2, where we're going to go ahead and make our blog actually work and function in the browser. Before we begin, this video's sponsor is Linode, and they make it easy and affordable to host your site, app, or service on whatever technology stack you use. Unlike entry-level hosting services, Linode is a step up to powerful, fast, fully configurable cloud computing. With server plans starting at just $5 plus no hidden fees or surprise outages, Linode offers a no-nonsense hosting at a price you can afford. So sign up now using the link below to get a $20 credit on your new Linode account. Hey everyone, what's up? Gary Simon here of Coursetro.com. So this is part 2 of the two-part series where we're covering the UI design, which we did in the previous video. So if you didn't see that one and you want to learn about UI design, definitely check that out. And also in this video, where we're going to step into the world of front-end development and work with a little bit of code, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and Nuxt, of course, and get everything working within our headless CMS of Ghost. All right, so make sure to subscribe if you haven't just yet. By the way, this is what we're creating right here. It's pulling all this data from a headless CMS, which is Ghost. And yeah, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm in my console here, and what we want to do is first run yarn, create Nuxt app, and then we'll give it a name. We'll just call it my blog. And of course, in order to run yarn at all, you have to make sure that you have Node.js installed. Just go to nodejs.org, download it for your operating system, install it, reload your console or your command line if you already have it up, and you'll be able to, and then you then you have to install yarn. I'm not going to go through all of those steps, just because I'm assuming if you're interested in creating a Nuxt blog, you probably already know this stuff. So what we'll do is run this, all right, and it's going to give you a prompt, description, author, we'll use yarn. UI framework, I'm not going to use any, but you guys could choose that if you wanted to. Custom server framework, don't need that. We could just leave this at Axios. ESLint, no for test framework. We'll use universal and leave this, hit enter. And now it's going to go ahead and install everything. All right, so it's done installing for me. Let's go ahead and CD into that. So CD, what was it, my blog? Yep. And then we also want to add the Ghost content API. So we're going to run yarn add try, if I can spell, try Ghost and / content API. So let's do that real quickly. Shouldn't take too long here. And after that, we're going to run code period. You can run this command right here if you have Visual Studio Code installed, and open up on my other monitor. All right, and inside of here, so this is the Nuxt project essentially. So if you don't know anything about Nuxt, definitely do a search on my channel or one of any other learning resources out there to learn more about Nuxt. This isn't going to be so much a Nuxt tutorial because this is a very specific tutorial, just getting Nuxt working in the context of having a blog and as well as working with a headless CMS. So the first thing we need to do is import the Ghost API so that we can get that working. So this is just a one-time thing. You set it and forget it essentially. So what we want to do is create a API folder here off the root. So new folder, API, and we're going to create a file called posts.js. All right. So inside of posts.js, we need to import the Ghost content API, just like that. So we installed that already. That's where it's coming from. Let's get rid of that welcome. And next, we have to create an instance of the API with the site credentials. So in a second, you're going to have to go ahead and join up at Ghost. So this code looks like that. All right. So the URL, if you're going to be using their Pro version, by the way, they have a self-hosted version as well. The Pro version will use this URL. This will change based on your username, I believe. And then you have an API key, which will go here. All right, so let's get that open as well. All right, so when you go to Ghost here, go to ghost.org, go ahead, sign up, and create your account. Now, the one thing that's going to scare a lot of you is it does ask for a credit card, but it doesn't charge you. You get a 14-day free trial. It does also mention on the join page that if you forget, you still don't get charged, I believe. So check that out if you wish. But yeah, let's go ahead. Once you get to this step where you've logged in, you're going to see this button right here, create a new publication. Basically, that means a new site or a new blog project. So create that. Let's click I'm ready to go, and I will wait here and probably just fast forward. All right, so this is the next screen, which kind of confused me at first because it's telling me to create my account. It's like, I already created your account. What are you talking about? But really, I think it means what it's talking about is creating like the information about this new blog or this new site that you have. So site title, let's just do dev blog, I guess. Full name, email address, and password. Okay. Oh, great. There we go. Now, last step is to invite staff members. If you have people who are working on this with you, you can do that. So that's a great thing about this Ghost backend. It's getting a lot of the legwork out of the room, so you don't have to do this stuff by by hand or doing it custom. Let's save that. And I'll do this later. Take me to my site. I can just barely see that. Okay, so here we are. It's kind of like a familiar, if you ever use WordPress or whatever, you actually have your own blog layout already if you want to use theirs. So you don't have to do the one, you don't have to do the custom thing, but obviously we want to go custom, so we're going to use our own. So you can click View Site, but Posts and Pages is the main area. And by default, they give you all these posts. And of course, you can delete them if you want, but we're going to leave them. And our goal is to get this post data inside of our own Nuxt project and then style it to make it look like the UI design, that we did right here. Okay, so what we want to do is click on integrations, and we want to add a custom integration. And I'm just gonna, I have no clue what to call this. I'm just gonna say whatever. All right, so after this is where we have our API. Don't worry, I'm going to delete this afterwards. So don't even try to use it. It's not gonna work. Okay, so we have our content API. This is the one that we want. And also the API URL is just whatever you named it, .ghost.io, okay? So let's paste that in. And this is GarySimon.ghost.io. Sweet. All right. So now we have that stuff out of the way. We'll want to create our first function down here to get all the posts. All right. So it's going to be an asynchronous function. Export it because we're going to use it in a different Nuxt component. Export async function. We're going to call it get posts. All right, inside of here, return await API.posts. By the way, I'm not going to be describing every single fundamental that we're going through again, so you should have a basic understanding of JavaScript and what asynchronous functions are. And we're going to say browse, not browser. We're going to open this up as an object and accepts a few different parameters. So limit, for instance, all. So that's just going to grab all the posts by default. So you can obviously apply a limit here if you're doing like pagination, which you would in a real project. And then we can also optionally include tags and authors. So with this, the result that it gets from the Ghost backend, you can tell it that you also want to include the tags that are associated with a given post and the authors. Otherwise, it will be omitted. There's a Ghost content API right here at this URL. So if you scroll down, you're going to find the endpoints, and this is what a post, it's an array of objects, contains. All right, it contains the slug, which is what you can use for the URL identifier, the title, the HTML here, just a bunch of stuff that you can use. And then when you also include tags and authors, it returns an array of objects in the form of tags and those authors. All right, so this right here, we're not done yet. Catch any errors here. And console an error, just in case there is an error. And that's it. So let's save that. And the next part, I'm only going to do the markup just for the this stuff right here, where it lists out our posts right here, just so that we can, you know, have a payoff to make sure that this all works quickly. Then we'll jump up and we'll do the HTML and stuff for this part. And then after that, we'll work on getting a specific page as well, and a specific post. Okay, so what we'll do is we're going to go to our pages and index. All right, so before we go any further, let's go back here and run yarn dev. This is going to open up a dev server, and it's going to be at localhost 3000. Just right click to copy that there, and go back here. And there we are. So this is the default Nuxt project template. So we're going to get rid of this stuff shortly. So in our index, what we want to do is basically gut all that stuff, except for this div or in the template tag right there. So we have our div class of container. And we'll just say we're going to do the main section. This is going to be all the stuff beneath the, what do you call, the hero section, the purple part. So we're going to say in here, we'll have our H2 latest thoughts. And then we will iterate through an unordered list. All right, so li. So this is where we do our iteration here. Before we can iterate through any type of array of objects, we actually have to get it down here, or right here in the middle rather. So to do this, we want to import our getPosts function that we created here into this part. So import getPosts. Oh, we're going to do this getPost. There we go. And from API/posts, and we don't need this logo. Let's get rid of that. And we don't need the components either. And then inside of here, async data. And we open this up and we say, create a constant of posts, await get posts. This is all asynchronous stuff. And then we return, we're going to call it posts as posts. All right, that's all we have to do. That's all we have to do to get the data from the Ghost backend. This section right here, and then right here in our component. All right, so up here, what we can say, just to iterate through, is simply v4. And we're going to put in parentheses, we want the post. And we also want the index. We have to have the index, otherwise it'll give us this error, even if we're not using an index. In posts. And then key is index. All right. And then inside of here, of our list item element, we're going to have our image, because remember what comes first. It is the image. And then the content. So we'll say image, source, image, and then source is post.feature image. All right, and then inside of here, we'll have a div class called content, and we'll have our a span element just for the author name. So we'll say, let's see here, post. Authors, and we're just going to choose the very first one, and we'll say name, and then next up after that was the title, the post title. So the post title is going to be, we're going to use what's called the Nuxt link attribute You can't just use a href or whatever here in Nuxt. You have to use Nuxt-link, and we're going to say to, that's the equivalent of href, and this is path post.slug. And then inside of here, through interpolation, post.title, that's how we get the title. I thought that was going to autocomplete for me. Nuxt link. There we go. And then finally, a paragraph for the excerpt, which is simply post.excerpt. There we go. I can't really say that word well. Excerpt. Okay. All right, there we go. That's all that we're going to do just for, that's all we need for the part that iterates through all of the blog posts in our UI. So let's go ahead and save this. And it may not work first because we've tampered with the back end. I wouldn't be surprised. Oh, it actually did. Look at that. So here's all these massive images. And of course, it looks like this because it's not styled at all. But as you can see, it's grabbing all this stuff. This stuff is coming from, let's see here. If we go back to, there it is. This is all the same stuff. And this is all in the posts right here that we can edit. In fact, we could click on this. Here's where we edit everything. It's a nice content editor. We can say, welcome to Ghost, bro. I don't know. So let's click update, update it, and go back to our blog. Where does it say this? Welcome to Ghost right there. That's it. It should say Ghost Bro. And we can see, of course, it is real time. And it's our Nuxt blog. Very awesome stuff. So now let's go ahead and focus on more of the front end stuff where we're working with the HTML and CSS of our layout. So here in default .view, this is the default layout. Think of it as like a way to think of templating. You can have multiple layouts if you have pages that share, a certain style. So by default, index.view is using default.view. And this right here, Nuxt, goes right in the middle. We want to have a, let's see here. We want to have a navbar that's present on every page, like Gary Simon or your name or whatever, and the navigation right here. One thing that we don't want to be on every page is this right here. We only want this to be on like the index homepage. This stuff like welcome and this lorem ipsum and this stuff. So we're not going to include that in the default.view template. We're only going to include this stuff. And then we'll add this stuff here to the file that we were just working in over there. So let's do that real fast. So inside of here, just this will stay here, but it's going to go underneath the navbar stuff. So what we'll do is, let's see here. We are going to start with a header, and then we will also have a container. The container is going to allow us to move the design here, everything that's inside of it, away from the edge of the browser a bit. All right, and so then inside of there, we're going to have a navbar class. In the navbar, I'm just having this markup so that I can use the flex box so that I can position left the logo and then also the navigation to the right using flexbox. We'll get to that part and you'll see in the CSS section, but we have to get the markup first. We're going to have our Nuxt link again. So Nuxt link, it's going to go to, that's it. So somebody clicks on the blog name or with the logo or whatever, it's just going to go to the home page as the standard pattern there. Class is going to be logo, so I can style this Gary Simon and Nuxt link. Next, we're going to have the nav element, and then we're going to have an unordered list for these. So each list item is going to have its own Nuxt link. So Nuxt-link to who, all right. And then who is the anchor text, Nuxt link. There we go. Just hit Shift Alt and the down arrow key twice so we can have 3 of these. The other one was posts, and this one is contact. I'm not going to be doing these 2 pages. I will do who, just to show you how you can grab a page from Ghost API as opposed to a post. So you can do these on your own if you wish. Really, posts would just be the same code that you'd be using from this area down here, that or from the other page where we grabbed all those posts. You could use that same method. And then that's defined in post.js. And then the contact page, again, this is stuff that you can just deal on your own. So this is good. This is all the markup that we need here for the default.view. So now if we go back here and we refresh, we should see that markup at the top, just like that. It looks really messed up because they do have some default stuff down here. I'm going to change Source Sans Pro to Nuneato. You're definitely, if this is a real project, you want to import the Nuneato font. It's a Google font. It's already installed on my machine, so it's going to work anyway, so I don't really care. I'm going to get rid of all this other stuff here. All right, and then let's see. We're going to leave this stuff here, and we're going to get rid of everything else right there. Okay. All right, so let's just work on the HTML for this markup right here. All right, so again, we're going to do mobile first, just like we did with the design, and we want it to look like this. All right, so let's get cracking. I'm going to pause and reorganize my window so that we can see a preview of what we're working with in the browser. All right, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to call upon our container. All right, so we're going to say container, and we're going to say margin 0 auto, and width will be 90%. All right, so we'll save that. I don't have hot reloading working here. I'll look into that after. What we're going to do next after that is reference our header. All right, and we're going to say background. All right, so here's another area where it definitely would make sense to use CSS variables or Sass variables. And so I'm going to show you real quickly, because we do have a fair amount of HTML elements for role sets to create for in CSS. It is worth using Sass. So I'm going to show you how to install Sass real quickly, and also a way to get your Sass variables accessible globally. All right, so we have to install just a couple things here, Node Sass, I believe, and also Sass Loader. So what we'll do is go back to our console here. I create a new one. This is called cd my blog. All right, and inside of here, we're going to say yarn. Let's see here, add Node Sass, Sass Loader, and also Nuxt.js /style-resources. And this last package that we're adding here, something the Nuxt community created so that we can have those globally accessible Sass variables, so we're not constantly importing unnecessarily. And then -d, as these are all development dependencies. These don't have to go on a server or anything. All right, so it's going to add all these. And then we're going to hop into, while this is there just completed, we're going to hop into our nuxt.config.js file, and we want to add under the modules. All right, where are we at? Right there. We want to add at Nuxt.js style resources, because that's the module that we just installed. And then after that, we're going to add style resources. It's an object. We're using Sass. This supports like less and a few other ones. And this is where your actual Sass files go that you want to have globally accessible across everywhere. So assets, we're going to create a folder called Sass or SCSS and colors.scss. So let's go create that. There's an assets folder here already, and it's basically empty. And we're going to create a Sass folder, and then also a colors.sass. All right. So now we can define our colors in that colors variable. And so I'm just going to have two. So primary color is going to be that 8800FF. That's what I used initially. Oh, what am I doing? I put a money sign there. There we go. All right, and then accent color is going to be FFFF00. I think that's close enough to what I had before. Let's save that. And now if we go back to our default .view, we can say style lang equals Sass, and then now we have access to primary color. So let's go ahead and save that and check out our browser to see if this at all worked. Now sometimes I found I've had to reload in order for any of this stuff to work. Now there may be an error as well, so let's check this over here. Let's see, invalid or unexpected token. So let's go back real quickly to our Nuxt.config.js. I messed up. Let's see here. Oh, there we go. I forgot to put a comma right there. Thus that was squiggly line. Okay. So now let's go ahead back here, yarn dev. We can reload this. Let it build in a second. And we can refresh and see what happens. There we go. Awesome. So now that we know for sure that everything we did just getting the Sass up and running now works, because this is a part of a variable in Sass. Okay, so let's continue on with that markup. So we have our default.view. Continuing on, let me get my reference monitor up here. So next we're going to have a padding of 1 EM and 0. So that's 1 EM top and bottom, 0 on the right and left. We're also going to have text align will be center. All right, and everything's being centered right now, I believe, because of some style that's in right here. Okay, we have a container rule set in here, and that's why it is messing everything up. Let me just get rid of all this stuff. So now if we refresh this, there we go. All right, so let's go back to our default.view. And inside of here, now that we have Sass, we can do nesting. We can say our Navbar class, and this is where we're going to be doing display flex. And again, this is in reference to right here. So our Navbar has two child elements, which is this Nuxt link and this nav element. And so we want to float those, essentially, not float in the traditional sense, but they want to be, you know, have one left over here and then the nav's the right over there. So what we do, we justify content space between, and that will move, that will create the space between the elements to push the one to the left, the other one to the right. After that, we're going to say font weight bold. All right, so let's refresh this, and there we go. Still got some work to do though. Outside of Navbar, but inside a header rule set, we're going to say color is white and text decoration is none. All right, so that's going to make everything white here. Gets rid of the underline. Next is our nav. All right, so the nav itself, display flex. So that's how we can get these all left aligned to each other, or yet not. Sometimes if you refresh too fast, okay, that's not the issue. What we have to do actually is ul list style type is none, and then padding is 0, and then display flex as well. There, that's what I meant. So now let's go ahead and give that another shot. There we go. All right, so now next what we're going to have is just our LIA. All right, so we're just targeting, so the Nuxt link attribute here, or custom element, gets converted into just a regular hyperlink. And you can see that as well if you view the dev tools and you inspected that element. We're going to say font weight is normal. We're just going to reset these here to normal instead of bold, and then padding 0.5 EM. So let's go ahead and refresh. There we go. Just to prove that it does turn these into links so you can see it's an ahref, even though it's, you know, Nuxt link. So that's what Nuxt is doing behind the scenes with that. All right, let's continue on. All right, so this is basically all we need for now. Actually, I lied. We're going to have one media query. So this is responsive design coming up. We want to have, let's see here, just outside of here, at media, only screen and min width. We're just going to choose the traditional 768 pixels. We're going to rewrite the font size of the body. So by default, it's 16 pixels. We're going to raise it 2. So watch what happens to the type. When I refresh this, nothing's going to happen. Watch the size of this one. When we get beyond 768, you're going to see them pop up and get bigger a little bit. See, right there. All the type increases. And as well as all the type is the margins and the white space, because we have those in EM units. So they all grow together. All right. So let's continue on. So now let's work on this section right here, which is going to be this, this, and this. So what we're going to do is go head over to our index.view, and we have to add that markup as well. So let's see here. So we're going to have just an empty div up at the top, and it's going to encase everything. And we have our div class container, but we're going to indent that twice and have a div class of hero. Somebody's texting me. And you'll see, I'll describe this stuff here in a second. All right, so our hero will have its own container. So let me just push this stuff down. So the container class is something that we use multiple times. It's used once here. It's going to also be used as well for the section, the hero section we're going to be working on. So we're going to have a container here. So that'll align everything up. And we're going to have our H1 element, welcome to my blog. After that, we're going to have a paragraph of subtitle. And this is just going to be lorem, I don't know, 15. There we go. And then after that, we're going to have our Nuxt link. And inside of here, we'll say to. This will go to contact. It doesn't exist. Class, we're going to give it a hire. So you can give the Nuxt link a class. This gets passed on when it gets re-rendered to an A element. Hire me. All right. So we're going to close out our hero class as well. I think I added one unnecessarily down here. We'll find out. So we want to end this hero class right there. There we go. So now take all this, and this should be, this markup is fine for all the stuff beneath it, and then we just added all the necessary markup for the other stuff. So if we save this, not much is going to change. We're just going to see this stuff. But now we have to style this so that it looks, you know, of course, like this. Okay, so let's get going. We're going to have a style. Again, lang equals Sass. Can't forget that, otherwise Sass won't work. And let's get going. So our hero. We have a hero class, and we're going to say background color is the primary color. So again, when I refresh this, I'm going to wait a second, refresh. There we go. Sweet. We're also going to say color white, and we're in text align is going to be center. Padding top is 2EM. So we'll go ahead, save, refresh, get in there. So this looks pretty solid right here as is, but the hire me button needs attention. So first, let's take the H1 element though inside of there, and we're going to say margin bottom 1EM just to push that button down a bit. And then also we'll have hire, and we're going to say that's our button, by the way. Background, we're going to use the darken function, pass in our primary color, and say 10%. We're going to darken it just by 10%. So now if we refresh, it's darkened it slightly, but still looks horrendous. So we have a few more rule sets. So let's specify padding, top and bottom 5 EM, 3 EM on the right and left. We're going to say margin is going to be, again, margin's on the outside of the element. So 2 EM on the top, 0 on the right and bottom, and 3 EM on the bottom, right and left rather, for that value. So let's just save that. So far, we're not done just yet. All right, getting there. We're going to display inline block. All right. After saving that, I just want to show what will happen. There we go. And then we will border radius, I think by like 10 pixels. And then color will be our accent color that's defined in our colors variable, Sass file. And then text decoration will be none. And this should be pretty close right here after saving. So let's refresh. There we go. Awesome. Now let's focus on this stuff. Okay, so we're going to have, let's see here, our container, container UL. We're going to say list style type is none because we have a list right here. These are all lists. We can see those list style, those bullets right there. That'll get rid of that. Also get rid of the default padding that the browser adds. We're also going to have, let's see here, our main element, and we're going to have our LIs inside of there. So these are all of our cards. What am I doing? So we're going to have a background of white because the cards are white, border radius of 1 EM, padding is 0.8 EM. And of course, you may be wondering, how did I know, to use all these? Because when I was actually starting and doing the project before recording this tutorial, I was experimenting with the values to see what they look like, so I can get them as close as possible to, here. So I wish I could just figure everything out without experimenting, but I'm not that good yet. So margin 1 EM 0, so that's the top and bottom, and then our box shadow. I'm just going to copy and paste this. It's kind of long. This is the values here for a box shadow, so it's still very minute. Let's go ahead and let's fix these images before we look at anything. Let's say image. We're going to say width is 100% and give it a border radius as well because we rounded those off, those images, if you recall from XD. Now we should see something a lot different. There we go. We're getting there. Okay, so continuing on, we have a content class. Where is that at? Right here. So the content class, we just want to give some padding so it's away from the edges so much. This still looks really white, but I suppose it's not. I have a really light color there. So let's go ahead and put in content, and we'll say 0.5 EM. Oh my God, what am I doing? Padding is 0.5 EM. I've been recording for a long time because I did just the design video right before this. All right, so that's moved things in. All right, looking at this, probably make that background color a little bit, the body background color a little bit darker, but that's fine for now. And then outside of these two, we're going to say just all the hyperlinks. Font size is 1.5 EM. Text decoration is none. Color is black. Font weight is bold. Display, we're going to do block. This is styling up the title. Is negative 0.1 EM for the margin, 0 and 0.2 EM there. I'm going to make sure I'm not on top of that. Okay, good. Let's save that. Oh, I think I screwed up one of these areas here. I think I have to put this inside of here, I think. I may have to go back and fix something. We'll see. Let's just save this and see if this ends up working. It may not. Oh, there we go. Okay, so far so good. We also have the H2 element, which is right here. So let's get that going. H2 is going to be margin top of 3EM. Text transform is uppercase. Font size is 0.8 EM. So let's save that. There we go. Looks good. All right. And finally, we have one more element. It's a span element right here. Remember, that's purple right there. So let's just say span. Span is color, primary color, display. I don't think I have to do that. Never mind. Text transform is uppercase. There we go. So here we go. There we go. Awesome. All right. So if you really want to see, the context of a, let's see here. Let's go to elements. No, right here. Here is like what it looks like on an iPhone X. And it looks pretty solid. Yeah, I should make this background a little bit darker. Let me do that real fast. We have our background color right here. So we can take this, copy it. We'll go back to our, let's see here. We're in our default. It's the body, or the HTML. Where's it at? You know what? I don't think did I ever set it? Well, let's just take our body, background, and see if that helps. Yeah, it does. There we go. Awesome, awesome stuff. All right, so now we have to get the this other stuff working here. Let's get rid of that because this just starts to look really ridiculous at a certain point. So at our 768 media query right there, this is where we're going to change this from looking real massive into this. Oh, we're on a second. Into this right here. So let's do that. Okay, so we're going to have we have our index right here. Let's move this stuff over. And what we want to do is create, really, it's just a single media query with one reset. That's why I love the grid so much. So we're going to say at media, only screen and min width is 768. And we're going to rewrite our main LI, because that's the card containers. We're going to say it's a grid, and grid template columns. I found that 180 pixels for those images worked well with auto. And then grid column gap. This gives us some white space between the two columns, between the image and the content of 1EM. So now, when I refresh, it's going to change right now. All right. So now we go back here. Like my sound effects. Awesome stuff. All right. That's awesome. So let's go ahead and get these individual pages working. So when somebody clicks on here, in reality, this should be, the whole thing should probably be a link. But whatever. Bad UX. I wasn't thinking. But when somebody clicks on our post, we need to be able to get to that post. Of course, it's not found because we haven't set that up yet. So let's go ahead and do that now. All right, so what we're going to do is revisit our API posts. All right, so we're going to go here to our post.js file in our API folder, and we have to create a new function. I'm just going to copy that here. We just want to get a single post. And by the way, this code is coming from the official documentation. There's a tutorial even at the Ghost API page for working with Nuxt. It's very simple. So we want to basically call the same API.posts. In a bit, we're going to create one that will access one of the pages. We're going to create a custom page. But for now, we just want to use the read method here, and we want to get a slug, which is just a unique identifier for the specific post. And we're going to call this post slug. This is going to be from a parameter that we're going to pass in when we use this method in our component. And that's it. So get single post. Now, Nuxt has what's called dynamic routing that we can use. And so inside of pages, we want to create a new folder that will house or store our dynamic route. And this is where the specific, posts are going to be stored. So this, what we're going to do if we just want to off the root domain, like, whatever.com/my-post or the title of the post, we just put _slug right here, and then we create an index.view. And this is just a regular view component like everything else. In fact, we can copy this and then just paste it. And of course, we're going to have to change it up in order for it to work for our needs. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. So the template's actually very minimalistic. We're going to start with a div class of container. In fact, there's so little, I'm just going to do this, and we're just going to do this from scratch. So container, inside of div class container, we're going to have a main element. And inside of here, we'll have our h1, which is going to be the post.title. By the way, we have to grab the individual post. We'll change this stuff up in a second. Let's just get the templating done. A div class of content, and this will be a white wrapper around it. A white wrapper. I'm going to talk about M&M or something. And then we're going to say we're spit out the content of the post. And to do this, if you just use interpolation, like with a paragraph or like a div element, and just say, post.html, which is the actual property that stores all that data, it's going to print out all the HTML tags. We don't want that. We want it to render the HTML that's a part of the post. So to do that, we're going to say, we're going to have a div element. Inside of the div element, we're going to say v-html equals post.html. And then through interpolation, we use post HTML. That will get us, this will make us render that HTML. So hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so now that's all we're doing for our content of our single page. It's all we need. So get single post is what we want for this page. And then we're going to say, we're going to pass into params, which comes from Nuxt. And we're going to grab the URL, the slug essentially, for us to find it. So get single post goes here. And this, by the way, gets changed up to post. Post and post. And this right here is params.slug. Grabs it from there. Very, very cool stuff. So let's go ahead and save this. We have a lot of, obviously we have to change up the style here. So let's do that real quickly. We can get rid of this temporarily, or for now at least. Let's go ahead and save this though and see if it works by default. So let's refresh and go to Ghost. It's not working. So that definitely should not happen. One thing I'm going to do is stop and rerun this. Sometimes I found when you're playing around with that post file in the API, it did not work. So let's go back here. There we go. And there we go. This is the actual content that's coming from, the Ghost information, wherever that went. Oh, it's right here. So you can update. This is where all that stuff is, right here. Okay, so let's make this look better though. And that requires just a few rule sets. So the header, the height, we're going to set to 15 EM. That's going to push that purple area down. And then we're going to have our H1. The color is white. Margin bottom. This is the article title, by the way, that's in that purple area. We also have our content. Background is white. This is the container, basically, for the content, the article stuff or whatever. And we just have two more rule sets that I'm just going to paste. And there we go. And that's just our main content image. By the way, I put content image here because some of those posts contain images and they were exceeding the boundaries of the content. So just setting those to be responsive with 100% works. And then finally, we do have one media query content. We're just going to increase the padding to 2 EM. And there we go. So let's go back, refresh, and there we go. Awesome, awesome, awesome stuff. All right, so now we can go back to the home page here, click on Manage Admin, and one of these ones right here. And there we go. You probably want to do some CSS work on these. It looks like there's no space between these elements. So you could just get your the Chrome DevTools out here, see what these elements are. These are strong elements, and you can give them margin and space so that it looks as you wish. The final thing that we're going to do is we're going to create a custom page for like if you wanted to get one of these pages working. So like the Who page, for instance. Let's get that working, and then we'll call this quits. We'll be done with this tutorial. So let's go to our pages. So again, we're going to create a route, and it creates them automatically based on your folder structure. So if you want a page called /who, we put who, and then we put index.view. All right, so for our index.view, at this point, before we continue on, let's go back to our post because we have to create one more method. So this right here is going to be called getPage. It's going to take a page slug, we'll call it. This is, the endpoint is api.pages. We're going to read from the slug of page slug. And then that's it. So we'll save that, go back to who, and at this point, because this is already quite a lengthy tutorial, what we're going to do is I'm going to copy and paste everything. All right, so what we have here is we've imported our get page. By the way, you could just take your index.view right here and just copy and paste that and change the get post from get page. Our async data, this is all the same. We're passing the params just as the same as before. Const page, oh, we don't even need to because we're not using it. So const page is await get page. So this is the function that we just created. Who am I? Okay, so you're going to be wondering, where is that coming from? That's the slug, right? So what we want to do is we want to go back to our Ghost API here, and we're going to go back here and click on pages and a new page. So who am I? And this is my awesome content. So this is a cool block level sort of editor where you can add images, galleries, dividers, freaking YouTube, everything. I'm just going to, let's click on the settings. So this is the slug, who am I? That's where that's coming from. So let's go ahead and publish this. All right. And then return the page of page. And then up here, we just have the very minimalistic HTML. It's actually exactly the same as this HTML over here, except we're using page.title, page HTML right here. And that's it. All right, so let's save that. I'm not sure if I'm going to have to restart the server. In fact, I'm just going to do it anyways. And then we're going to go back. And we're going to refresh. This should work. There you go. Who am I? This is my awesome content. So it would be up to you if you want to finish off these pages here. And yeah, very awesome stuff. Hopefully you guys learned a lot. All right, so hopefully you enjoyed all that information and hopefully you watched both parts. And if you did, thank you very much. If you like this content, as always, make sure to subscribe. Some of you are probably wondering, how do I deploy this thing? You can definitely, there's so many different options for deployment. That's why I didn't really cover it here. But you can definitely do a Google search or a YouTube search on Nuxt deployment, and you should have a lot of different options for a lot of different service providers as well. All right, I will see you guys real soon. Goodbye.